Okay, we are good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DJ Greg podcast. I'm glad you're here. Today's guest is half of a duo photography company that I've had the pleasure of working with these past couple of years. Their commitment to their couples is to preserve the memories of their wedding, not through just, pretty photos and flowers in the background and all that good stuff, but they're there to tell your story through laughter, love, feeling, movement, so that it can be treasured and remembered for many generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, from Scherer Photo Company, this is Jenessa Scherer. How you doing, Jenessa?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I got that from your website, so I
I was
cheated.
like, wow, he's really got this down. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for coming on. So, okay, so now even before we begin, you just became a mother recently for the third time, right?
I did. Yes. We just gave birth to our third sweet little boy, Miles. And so he's 8 weeks. So still brand new little freshie. And then we have a 2.5-year-old Luna and 8-year-old, sorry, just had his birthday, 8-year-old Alex. So
All right, happy belated Alex, man. Wow, I know your family's going really, really fast.
it is. But it's good. It's a good crazy, good chaos, right?
Yes, yeah, I remember my kids being at those ages. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was definitely good chaos. Okay,
Yes.
so what was your introduction to photography?
Oh, yes. I love that you asked this question. So I actually was gifted a camera when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And it was like super old school point and shoot, slow lens camera. And my brother, who had taken some photography classes in high school, used to like teach me, oh, okay, you should shoot from this angle. That will look good. And, we just play around.
Right,
And
right.
my sister, my oldest sister, she had a daughter. And I used to always practice on her. We'd do little newborn shoots, or I'd make her go outside and be my model. But certainly, like, this was all very, very amateur. This was like kid with a camera, right?
Right, right.
And I loved it. I loved it so much. And I was always, always taking pictures. Now, this was back in the day where there was no digital and you had real film. And my
Hmm.
mom would get so mad because she'd buy me rolls of film, and within a week, they were all full. And I'd be like, Mom, let's develop all these. Now, probably half of them were blurry, or God knows what was on those film, but
Right.
but I just loved it. It was a hobby that kind of followed me all throughout my life. And I graduated from high school and went to college, and I thought I actually wanted to do something in business. I double majored in Spanish. So I
Mm.
thought I was going to be like an interpreter, or maybe teach Spanish, or be somewhere in the business world, like, an office job.
Yep.
And I did that. And after graduating college, I worked for Wells Fargo for a while, worked for a couple of other corporations, and I hated it. I hated corporate America. I am not made to be anybody's employee. So I actually revisited photography more as just a hobby. I started photographing family, and I had a couple of friends ask if I would do their kids' senior sessions, all very casual. I mean, not even being paid. It was just like something fun I enjoyed to do.
Right.
And I had a handful of people who said, you're really good at this. You could charge. And I'm like, no, nobody would pay me to take their picture. No way in heavens. And at that point in time, I just never thought that like there was really a career in photography. I thought it was always just a hobby.
Right.
But I rolled with it. I was thinking, it might be fun to just give it a try, make some extra cash on the side. And if it flopped, it flopped. Who knows?
Right.
So I actually posted on Facebook. This was right when I was fresh from college. So Facebook was still pretty new even. And posted, hey, does anyone want a family session? $30 for a family session.
Okay.
And I had like over 20 people respond to me saying,
Wow.
heck yeah, like we'd love to be your models, I mean, for that price, what's the risk, I guess.
Hmm.
And so that fall, it was October and November. I did probably 20 to 30 family sessions and just gained experience. And I guess from those sessions, people really liked us.
Wow.
So
Wow.
from there, it just kind of snowballed, and we had lots of those families that referred other families, and
Okay.
slowly families transitioned into shooting couples, shooting some maternity sessions. Back then, we had very, very beginners equipment, so
Mhm.
we were not in the pro leagues yet, but we just had a ton of fun. We loved getting to meet with all these different people and capture their stories. And from there it exploded and slowly transformed into what we now have as our successful, I guess, family and wedding photography business. So
That is awesome. Wow, just throw it out there just to see what hits, and next thing
yeah,
you know, it's like bam.
very humble beginnings.
Right, very humble. Very humble.
I, I feel like in hindsight, what I've learned from all of this is not being afraid to just try. Because,
Right.
had I not put it out there, I may have never even known that that was something that we could have pursued. And that brought me to the life I have today.
Wow. And so you did this with Chris at the time too? With your
So when I
husband?
first started, it was actually just me.
Okay.
And when we were just shooting families and seniors, my husband was helping me with a lot of the back end business stuff. He's very business minded, and he'd do a
Hmm.
lot of like the editing. He'd help me on the back end, a lot of keeping our accounting and taxes and that stuff straight, because I was not my expertise.
You kind of need somebody like that too.
That's right. Sure do. You got to have both ends, right?
Right.
Um, and then I had asked and been approached to shoot a wedding for a family friend of ours, and we shot our first wedding. We were like 10 hours of coverage for like $200.
Oh my goodness.
Next to nothing. But I was
Right,
just
right.
thrilled that someone was trusting me behind a camera for their special day. Um, and she had approached me and asked if at that time that it would be a possibility to have a second shooter. And I knew of a handful of other photographers that I knew I could ask, but Chris had suggested, because he did have a little bit of photo background, he said, what if we just got a second camera and we gave it a whirl? So
Mm.
at that point in time, we were about 6 months out from that wedding. And Chris and I scoured the internet for all the education we could find, became sponges to soak
Hmm.
in everything we could about cameras and consistency and editing and posing. And then he rolled with me, and we ended up second shooting together at that wedding. And that season, after shooting that wedding and sharing the photos from the wedding, we were approached and asked to shoot 14 other weddings our first year.
Oh, wow. What?
Yes.
You just blew up from there.
We did. And, we were very fortunate. Our first couple was wonderful, and they were willing to try all the silly prompts and poses we had. And they were so great in sharing their testimony and their experience with us. And so we really just dived in head first. And he and
Mm.
I grew together, I will say, in our experience and knowledge and teaching one another. And after that first season, we really realized that this was something we enjoyed doing together, and we enjoyed the work together and spending time together, and really felt
Right,
like, wow, maybe this could be something we could pursue. But at that time, we weren't making the income that we could make it a full-time business quite yet.
right, right, right. And so what was you said you didn't like, corporate America at all, right?
No.
And so was that how much of a factor did that play into, like, okay, I'm just gonna dump corporate America and just go right into photography, and that's it.
Yeah, well, so I worked at a couple of different businesses, and while they were well and fine, my son was a few years old at the time,
Hmm.
and I really hated being away from him. we were very fortunate. Both my mom and Chris's mom took the kids quite often while we were working. So he never had to go to daycare.
Oh, cool.
But I missed everything. I felt like I missed,
Mm.
his first steps, his first words, taking him to the zoo. All those things happened while I was at work. And,
Mm-hmm.
we were barely getting by, and we were doing the photography hustle on the weekends. So seeing our kiddos were difficult. And then after getting married, and as we started talking about our family growing and talking about Miss Luna Girl, and, at that time, who was just a twinkle in our eyes, the idea of having another kid scared me that much more, because I knew that if I had another, I wanted to be able to be present for them and figure out a way to, work a business and support our families, but also still get to have that family time that we yearned for. So for another almost 3 years, we hustled doing the weddings on the weekends and working the business on the side while we both had other full-time jobs.
Wow.
While we established ourselves, and as we raised our prices and gained experience, we started to
Mhm.
kind of see where the point was where we'd feel financially comfortable for me to walk away. And it kind of came at a perfect time, because we figured out that we were pretty close to the point where we needed to be. There was maybe just a handful more weddings we would need to book to at least comfortably support ourselves and be able to pay our bills. And I had an opportunity to either take a promotion at my work or walk away. And
Mm.
had I taken the promotion, it would have been better pay, but would have been more hours. And at that
Right.
time, that's not what I wanted. It was the opposite.
Yeah.
So instead, I decided to walk away. And I never looked back. A year later now, I can say that it was truly the best decision we've ever made, because now I'm able to pour that much more into our clients, into our couples, and really make them feel cherished and appreciated, and give them the experience that I've wanted to give all along.
Right.
So,
Yeah. That's very important, because a lot of people don't realize the time that, maybe a photographer puts into the planning of a wedding day. They just think that overall you're just there to shoot and just to crop a few wedding pictures and that's it. So
yes.
there's a lot. How much more time, or better yet, how much time do you put into shooting a wedding, excuse me, even beforehand that day comes?
Oh, hours and hours of planning. So when we first meet a couple, we typically have a consult with them where we'll talk for a few hours about their plans and their dreams and their visions for their photos. And
Okay.
then throughout the way, we send them tip and planning emails with different tips or ideas for getting ready spaces, or gifts for their bridesmaids, or different tips to just help them solidify their plans. We've started over the years to consider ourselves to be kind of experts in the field, and for most couples, it's their first time and only time getting married. So, we love to share whatever knowledge we can, and if they take it, they take it. And if not, we just like to be there to support them.
Right.
Lots and lots of couples do an engagement session. So that's time behind the camera and editing. That's all part of the process, just even before the wedding day. And then,
Wow.
there's the time of making sure our equipment is up to date, and all of our gallery hosting software, and all the behind the scenes prep work of the poses and prepping for the location. Often we location scout beforehand, so we know where we're going to be taking the couple on their day. And then an average wedding day, we typically shoot somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10 hours. But they say for every 1 hour you're behind camera, it's probably 4 to 5 behind the computer after. So an
Oh,
average
wow.
8-hour wedding day is probably another 30 to 40 hours, I would say, of editing, gallery delivery, follow-ups, print orders, all the back end work. So,
Oh, wow. So yeah, I was just remembering the time that we were in Stillwater. I think so. Well, we were in Stillwater a couple of times. Let me take that back. We were
yeah.
in Stillwater last month, to be
Oh,
exact.
yes.
So for Rachel's wedding, and
hmm
you guys were there for about a good 8 hours, I would say, right?
hmm
So now you're saying for the editing part after that, is for every picture you took, you're saying it's about 3 to 4 minutes per picture you taking the
Yeah,
edit?
yeah, I
Wow,
would guess for sure.
that's a lot of editing. I mean, that's a lot of time for editing. People don't realize that the editing is really is where your art comes in. Would you say that's true?
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who they think, oh, they want their raws or they want, the unedited images just to see, what that looks like. But so much of our raws, we might underexpose, shoot it so it's not perfectly lit so that we can play with it in a certain way. Or, we see kind of the end vision in sight when we're actually shooting and the choices that we make as far as locations. So it's all part of the process. And I would say between Christopher and I, on average, because there's 2 cameras going live all day, we shoot around 4,000 photos. And then we cull that down and usually deliver around 800 edits to a client. So they're still getting a lot of the good stuff. So.
Right. And what is your favorite part of the wedding day to shoot? Is it when the bride gets into the dress, or is it the sunset photos? Like which part of the day is the best and most fun time for you to shoot?
Yes, good question. I would definitely say, so I have 2 favorites. My
Okay.
first favorite is the first look, because if a couple chooses to do a first look, they have that opportunity to see each other before the wedding day and before the ceremony. And usually it's just the couple and Chris and I. And it's just such an emotional experience because often the grooms, they might not cry in front of 200 guests at a ceremony, but they might be okay bawling their eyes out in front of their bride. So
Yeah.
it's just so sweet. You get these really special moments as they see each other for the first time and they hug and embrace, and he tells her how beautiful she is, and he gets to do that because it's in that quiet moment between the 2 of them. So I love that when couples choose to do that. And then my other favorite is definitely the golden hour photos. That like last hour of warm, gooey sunset when we get a really good, warm, sunny day. I think it's just such a great opportunity because usually at that point in time, the couples have really relaxed. The ceremony's over, all the hard work and the formal photos are done. They're just getting to enjoy their party. And it's usually somewhere after speeches that will come and grab them and sneak them away. And, often their people don't even notice they're gone, and we can sneak away for 10 or 15 minutes. And it's a chance for them to reconnect again. And that's a big part of our photography too, is we're seeking connection and those meaningful moments between our couples, not just stand here and smile. Like, well, that's great.
Right.
We want to see that connection and see that love. And so oftentimes brides look back at their wedding days as a whirlwind, and they blinked and the day was over. And we really find that taking those quiet moments, like at golden hour, to just escape and chase the sun with their groom and enjoy those few minutes to dance and twirl and laugh and kiss is just so special. So
right. You call it the golden hour. Was that something you came up with?
No, I wish. No, yeah. It's a pretty well used term for like that hour before sunset. I like to affectionately refer to it as magic hour too sometimes, because I think that
hour. Okay.
That's where the magic's made.
Yeah, I like that. I know. Isn't it so funny how they get into one mode, during the ceremony? Maybe their faces are maybe a little bit more stern or concrete or concentrated. And then after the ceremony, it's like,
yeah, they can breathe.
They could go back to being themselves again.
Yes.
That altar is serious.
It is. Well, and I've found even this year with having smaller ceremonies, you'd think that people would be more relaxed, having less guests maybe. But I still feel like once the ceremony's over, that's portrait magic.
That's it.
They can celebrate and they're happy, and it's where the goodness comes. So
absolutely. Now you've been in this field for the last 4 years, I would say. Am I right?
Yes. Yep. So I started about 5 years ago doing like impromptu sessions, and officially a business about 4 years.
Awesome. Okay. So what does the next 4 or 5 years look like for you? What's your future plans?
Yes. Well, thank you for asking. We've got a lot of exciting things coming down the turnpipe. Christopher and I have had a lot of conversations, and it's not official yet. So this is the first place I probably said this out loud.
Okay.
But, we're talking about expanding from being just a photo team to photo and video. So we really, really love the idea of expanding our art and being able to make that video and photo experience seamless for our couples. And since we already know how to integrate working together, we think that that will be a really authentic, smooth move for our future. And then also down the turnpike, we've talked about a lot of exciting things like transitioning into some education for newer photographers. You know, we made so many mistakes in the beginning of our business, where I wish I would have had someone to just like shake me across the head and say, you know, here's a better way.
Right. What were some of those early mistakes though that you did make, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah. So a lot of things are revolved around the business end, you know, ways to keep track of taxes and accounting. And a lot of that, I just was in drowning water. No idea what I was doing. But also how to represent yourself and your brand. So, you know, at the beginning, we really didn't have like a smooth workflow yet. We didn't really know what our editing style was. So in the photography world, there's affectionately known, you know, several different wheelhouses of styles.
Yes.
So you might be dark and moody and your edits are more of like those dark and emotional photos, or you might be light and airy and then you like to have real light and bright and wispy photos. We consider ourselves to be colorful, bold, and joyful. So we're all about the rich colors and, you know, the joyful expressions. But at the beginning, I didn't know that that's what we were. And so I tried to fit myself into a lot of other boxes and tried to edit in the way that I thought my clients wanted. And instead, I became a chameleon, right? I was changing my experience per the client and there wasn't any consistency. And I feel like when we really harnessed in on who we were and what we loved and where our passions lie, that's when our business really started to boom, because we knew who we were confident, and now we know what our experience should be for the client. And you know, we're still growing and we're still learning. I can't say after 5 years there's not still mistakes or bumps in the road, but I feel like we've ironed out a lot of things that at the beginning we just had no clue. So
that's awesome, and y'all work so well together too.
Oh, thank you.
was that difficult in the beginning? Like, you know, okay, I'm working with my husband, and you know, you got to keep the work relationship where it's at, and then the husband-wife relationship where that's at. You know, was that really difficult or maybe different for the both of you? Or was it just something smooth and like maybe both of you were just ready for?
I do think that we both really enjoyed and were ready for it at the beginning. But there were definitely hiccups along the way. You know, I think a big part of it was learning boundaries of the home life balance, being that, you know, we work and run this business from home, but we also have our family and our relationship here at home, learning like when to turn off the computer, when to set the phones away, put the work talk aside, and now we're having family time. Okay. Oftentimes, you know, we'd be in the middle of dinner and an email would come through and it'd be like, okay, who's going to respond to this? And, you know, just figuring out like where that balance is. Okay. And then also, you know, when we'll get into like tiffs at a wedding, like, no, we should shoot it from here. No, we should shoot it from there. No, get your butt over here. Like,
no, I'm the boss. No, I'm the boss.
Yeah. And they're still headbutting at times, but I feel like for the most part now, we both kind of know the expectations of who's shooting what and where we're going to go, and we're getting better all the time. So.
Awesome. That's kind of funny in a way. So now, okay, so now I know things were like, you know, pretty different, like, you know, for you shooting post-COVID, and that it took a while to get back into the, you know, to the swing of things. When did you start getting back into the weddings? Like, was it like July when we met? At that time, things were starting to come back.
So all of March, April, May, And I think even most of June, if I remember correctly, photographers were considered non-essential. So because of that, based on the governor ordinance, we couldn't legally conduct business. Now, I'm not going to say there weren't some photographers who did, a session or a real small wedding on the side, but
Right.
We had decided to follow it. And so the difficult part was we had many, many weddings and sessions that were booked during that time that pretty much all chose to either cancel or reschedule. So we had a lot of clients that pushed to 21, clients that pushed to the later parts of this summer, so August, September, October, with the hopes that things would open up.
Right.
And so then it was like around the end of June that the governor started allowing outdoor photography at a distance, and then has gradually opened up to allow weddings and events and such. But it certainly has been an adjustment in every way that we conduct business. So.
Right. What was there any part harder to get used to than others?
Yeah. So a big thing that has changed for us, especially having a newborn, is, we don't want to ever risk our own family's exposure being at these larger events. And also for our clients, to keep them safe. We shoot a lot of smaller children and babies and families outside of the weddings. So we wear masks during our sessions and at weddings as we can, and keeping that social distance when we're shooting. We upgraded all of our equipment, so now we both have zoom lenses. So we had one before, but now we have multiple, so that we're able to shoot at a distance and still get, the good crisp shots. But what's difficult for me is I'm a people person. So I've always been the one at weddings to shake hands and hug people. And, I'm the first one to jump in and correct the bride's dress or help fix grandma's hair or, help put on a boutonniere. And, having to work at a distance is so hard when I want to jump in and be able to help in those ways, but for everyone's safety have had to pull back. So, and reminding myself okay, no, I can't hug her.
Yeah, that's been difficult for me too. I could definitely relate to that. Just, going up and hugging people, and, now I give the elbow, and
Yes.
it's kind of weird for me too. I'm with you on that.
Well, and I feel like, especially with our couples, because we follow them from the time of their booking to their engagement sessions to planning, oftentimes by the time we're at their wedding, it may be our fifth or sixth interaction, or more, if we've become friends. So it's weird because I do feel like a little bit of an intimate, friendship relationship with a lot of our couples. And so it just feels strange to keep distance from them. But
Yeah. I'm definitely with you on that. So now, okay, with the expansion of hopefully of video and teaching classes, I think that's a great opportunity for the both of you. What the success looks like for Scherer Photo Company.
Yeah, well, I feel like for me, success would be feeling like we were at a point financially where we could support our family and be able to live out some of the dreams that we have planned for our future and still run that successful business. Being able to support our family and do things like we've talked about, taking our kids to Europe. Neither of us traveled a lot as kids, and we'd love to be able to share those experiences with our children and grow their minds to be worldly, and also teaching them that there's more out there than just the hamster wheel of high school, college, full-time job. I want more for that than them, because I know that we've gotten to have more for that. So I feel like if someday my kids can be entrepreneurs too, and they can follow our model and be successful in that way, then I truly would feel like, we've accomplished what we could do. So, and in that respect too, I also feel a big passion for community over competition. So if there's other photographers who are newer to the industry and there's a way that I can help build them up, I really feel like when it comes to weddings, there's enough to go around, right? There's enough for all of us. So we've all got our own unique talents and our own unique interests and styles. And I feel like there are so many couples out there getting engaged all the time that it's so important for us to lift one another up. And, especially as a woman, there's just less of us out in the entrepreneurial world. The reality is that that just is the case, and helping build up other women and show them that they can do the business world thing and the mom thing. Because so many of us feel like it has to be a choice. It has to be one or the other. And, if I could build up another woman to feel like she had the empowerment to start her own business or to take the risk, be it photography or otherwise, I would really feel like that was a success. So.
Wow. I mean, wow. I mean, you gave a load full right there. Absolutely. Because as a woman, you can't do it all. If a man could do it all, so can a woman. I totally agree with you on that. And when you do get to Europe, make sure you see Germany.
Have you been to Germany? Is that your favorite?
well, my wife was from Germany, so
okay.
yeah, we've been there. Oh, but she took me there. I don't know how many times, 6, 7 times.
Wow.
I loved it right from the first time I stepped foot on Germany. Loved it.
Well, I'll have to pick your brain then deeply someday before we go.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, she'll give you a whole load of places to go, the whole culture, the foods, the beer, everything.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful.
I just feel like there's so much world to see. And I feel like so much of our perspective right now are so close-minded as Americans that there's just so much out there that we just haven't experienced. So
yeah, it's definitely an eye opener. It's a brain opener. It's like cracking the egg,
That's right.
And all you can do is just say, it's just like, wow. I mean, once you take a look at the civilization, the past histories, and you see these castles before your eyes, and you're like wondering, like, man, how did they put this stuff together? It's really mind blowing.
Really puts history and that culture right in front of your eyes. It's so great to read about, but I think even better to see in person. And we're so blessed that our job is one we could take with us anywhere we go. So
yeah, and you can take pictures of it.
That's right. or meet clients and shoot weddings on the cliffs of Moors, or
that's right.
Anywhere. So.
Absolutely. Well, so let me ask you another question before we get out of here. Look, Canon, Nikon, Sony. What are you shooting with?
So I will admit I'm a Nikon girl all the way.
Okay.
The very first camera that I ever got was a Nikon, and that's just what I learned on. And I feel like some may disagree, but it's a controversial topic. But, I feel like, in my opinion, Canon and Nikon is like Coke to Pepsi. It's all the same wheelhouse. It's just your preference. And we've really found our groove and our niche in the way that Nikon handles capturing a photo. And I did work briefly for a studio that I was a contractor for, and they exclusively shot Canon. So I had to completely relearn how to use the Canon camera because controls are just different. So I guess technically you could say I'm bilingual in the camera world. So I can shoot both, but still come back to that Nikon.
Nikon. Ain't nothing wrong with Nikon though. I like Nikon too. Nikon does work. But Jenessa, I want to thank you, for this interview. I'm sorry that we missed Chris, but give him my regards.
I will.
To your little
Hopefully
ones.
he gets friends next time.
Yes, next time. Yeah, we're going to get the other half of Scherer Photo Co.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Greg. It's been so fun getting to know you in the industry the past few years and watching your business bloom and grow. And for those of you who don't know this, I met Greg when he was the DJ at our wedding. So I fell in love with Greg's work firsthand when I saw how he knew how to throw a party. So.
Well, thank you. Yep, thank you. And you know what? I hope to many more working occasions between us and Scherer and Scherer Photo Company, and can't wait to get into that expansion part where you implement the video. I want to see what that looks like.
Well, thank you. Hopefully sooner than later.
Absolutely. You take care, and thanks again.
All right, Greg. Have a great one.
All right, you too.